Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First keep flying high, fast cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Needy boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe. Party rats, blood setters. Got me on the mic now, let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream highs. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're go better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard E3, and welcome to the And One podcast, where, of course, I am joined by the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, I'm doing great on Thursday night, getting ready to talk some hoops. What's better than that? Let's get into it.
No, absolutely. Say, you know how we got to start, Mo? Underrated player of the week. Every week, if you're just tuning in, your first time viewing the show, every week we like to start out by showing love to somebody who was underrated. Could be a player, executive, a whole team. Say, Mo, who do you got for underrated player of the week this week?
You know what? I'm not going to go with an underrated player, but I'm going to go with a coach who in a lot of ways may be underrated because I thought he was ahead of his time. And a lot of what he was doing in his time is pretty much the way the game is played today. We're in the era of positionless basketball for the most part. The coach I'm talking about is Nelly, a.k.a. Don Nelson. Don Nelson was ahead of his time. He was deploying lineups that featured a forward at center surrounded by 4 guards. The quick pace, the up-tempo, that was Don Nelson. His team shot threes more than most teams shot. Don Nelson, to me, was an offensive pioneer. And he did have a degree of success. He had a lot of winning teams. They didn't actually win a title, but he did have a degree of success. So to me, I'm going to go with an underrated coach because he was an innovator. You could say in a lot of ways he was D'Antoni before D'Antoni. I'm going with Don Nelson, a.k.a. Nelly.
And, of course, little fun fact, Don Nelson inadvertently kind of caused rookie scale contracts because of positionless basketball. The rumor was that, obviously, him wanting to play positionless basketball, he wanted to put Chris Webber at center, who had a 15-year contract, but negotiated an opt-out after 1 year. Well, apparently that was part of their beef, so, Webber activated the opt-out clause. The rest is history. But, yeah, absolutely, he was ahead of his time when it comes to positionless basketball. Pioneer of the game, and his team, like you said, they're always just such a fun watch. For my guy, I was gonna bring you about the prototype for a 3-and-D wing. Give me Trevor Ariza, Houston Rockets.
Oh, I like that one. I have a soft spot, obviously, in my heart for Trevor Ariza, not just because he was a tremendous player, a 3-and-D guy, athletic, hard-nosed defender, but he helped the Lakers win a title. He was a big part of that title run. And, yeah, I have a big appreciation for Trevor Ariza. So shout out to Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wasn't a superstar, but a superstar in his role. Like, he completely bought in. He was completely okay just kind of standing in the corner and just knocking down threes, spacing the floor, and just being a long, rangy, annoying defender. Like, anytime you thought he had him beat, he just had such length that he would just recover. He might not have been the quickest, but that length helped him recover so often. So yeah, shout out to Trevor Ariza, man. And speaking of Trevor Ariza, Mo, his teammate caught some shade today. Or apparently after the loss to the Magic. So the Lakers lose to the Magic, and DeAndre Ayton has been quoted out of pure frustration after the game saying, "They're trying to make me play like Clint Capela." And to me, Mo, that's the funniest thing ever, because quite frankly, this Lakers team would be a lot better if he was Clint Capela. That's the best part to me. Like, if you switched out Ayton with, like, 2020, 2021 Clint Capela, whoo! Man, this team might be first in the West at that point. Probably not first, but they'd be in the running for second.
Yeah, that's the funny part. He made the Clint Capela comment, I guess, to be a slight. So let's go with the obvious part. Is DeAndre Ayton more gifted or skilled than Clint Capela, or more talented? However you want to formulate that. He absolutely is. He has the talent to be a high-level all-star. But if you were putting a team together, knowing what you know about both players, and let's say they're both around the same age, 22, 23 years old, you would pick Clint Capela. Even though he's not as skilled, he's a more impactful player. Clint Capela buys into the concept of what's necessary for the team and playing to your strengths. Not a scorer, so he didn't demand the ball. His job was to protect the paint, dominate the boards, and run to the rim and catch lobs and finish. And he was terrific at that at the height of his heights. Clint Capela was great at that. The only other center who was a level above him at doing that at his peak, and it's not even close, would be DeAndre Jordan, who obviously is a far superior athlete. DeAndre Ayton, plain and simple, is not a winning basketball player. He's an underachiever, low motor, and he's soft. And my guess is, and I don't think this is a guess, I'm 100% certain this will be his first and last year with the Lakers. Now, somebody else will pick him up, because it's not that he's not a capable player, or that if you're a numbers guy, you'll go, well, why would the Lakers get rid of Ayton? He's going to finish the season averaging 15-8 or 15-9, because a lot is made of the Lakers' defensive deficiencies. He's a big part of that. He's not a good defensive player. He's not a rim protector. He's not a dominant rebounder. He lacks a certain that you on your team. DeAndre Ayton, if I want to do kind of a comp in terms of what he gives you towards versus what his talent level says he could be, he's a disappointment. He's more like he's a center version of Zach LaVine. He could be so much more, but he's just enough. Or let me rephrase it. He's almost not enough, right? Like, he'll tease you and you'll think Ayton got it. He's buying in. And then he'll fall back into his old habits, and you realize he is who he is. Look, it's a funny comment to make. If I'm Clint Capela, I'm somewhere laughing. Because if I'm Clint Capela, I know that anybody who knows basketball knows that I'm a better choice. At least the younger version of me is a much better choice than DeAndre Ayton.
Hey, what's good, T3ND? Curtis Knight, welcome in. Hey, it's funny that because of those comments, like Magic, Rockets is on right now. Clint Capella had back-to-back blocks on the same possession, and my first thought was, oh, he saw the Ayton comments, didn't he? He locked in tonight. No, I think I completely agree with that. Ayton's always been one of the most frustrating players in the league for me. It's my biggest frustration with him is the way he's like allergic to physicality as a big. Like he plays so far away from the rim. And when he does like post up, like you get him into a mismatch, he's shooting a baby hook. He's fading away. I could put Muggsy Bogues on him and that man's fading away still. Like he is not here for contact. So, and it's funny, Mo, I think I found his burner in the comments, by the way, too. Under that comment, somebody posted like, yeah, well, he's shooting 66% of the field. He should be getting 15 shots a night. I'm like, I don't know if Lakers fans can handle DeAndre Ayton ball shooting 15 shots a night. I don't know where the shots are coming from, but yeah, he's a frustrating player to watch.
He is. He's the guy that, how many times have you watched a Laker game and he catches the ball point blank at the rim, but because there's a defender there, rather than just go up strong and attack the basket, he kicks it out to a shooter. Like he's I'll put it this way. In my neighborhood growing up, a guy like Clint Capella, he got a lot of quit in him. He wouldn't last long on the court at all when you got that much quit in you.
Capella been in the league 15 or blocked. Hey, he just had 2 blocks today. No, like I said, I like Clint Capella. Like he was a star in his role, and when you were brought up, like for example, in the systems and players that Clint played with, you didn't need him to post anybody up.
Right.
You didn't really need him to do any of that. So I guess it really almost feels like it's a reflection of who he played with because he's always been paired with elite like lob players. Like he comes up, he's already with James Harden.
Right.
Set a screen and roll. He gets traded. Oh, he's in Atlanta. Trae Young's one of the best pick and roll players in the game. Okay. Throw up those lobs. Now, obviously, it's a little different in Houston, but at this point in his career, it's not like it really matters that much. He's not playing big enough minutes anyway. But let's say I think Clinton is just one of those guys that he started in his role and he did exactly what he was asked to do. And when he bought in. He's like 6th in DPOI voting, I believe, in 2021. So, like I said, when he like peaked, especially like in Atlanta, I thought he did a great job in buying into his role.
He did. And look, you don't ever get caught up in who has more talent. I'm only going to judge you on what you do on the court. Tyson Chandler is not the most gifted scorer or offensive player, but the things that were his strengths, he excelled at. He put him out there, and he would be the perfect teammate. You talk about a guy that's a great rim runner, Tyson Chandler. If we had 26-year-old Tyson Chandler right now, the Lakers would probably be like the second or third seed in the West. Well, obviously, not just because of the rim running ability. It's also because Tyson Chandler was also one of the top defenders of his time. DeAndre Ayton is not a rim protector. He's not. And they wanted him to be that. They also wanted him to be more of a dominant rebounder. But if you're that finesse, and he's beyond finesse, I think you're better off being a 6th or 7th man. I think there's a role for a guy like DeAndre Ayton, but it's not as a starter. It's not as one of your primary players.
Say, what's up, Brandon? T3ND, I feel like you're not a really big Clint Capella fan. Just say, shout out to the GOAT, Samuel Dallenberg.
Yeah, look, I get it. Because you can pull up numbers and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that numbers don't tell the whole story. They don't. I know one thing. If I'm in a gym and we're picking 5s, and I got a choice between Ayton and Capella, I'm picking Capella because I'm trying to win.
No, absolutely. That Magic are probably trying to stop this Rockets run in the worst way. Jonathan Isaac pull up 13-footer. Reed Shepard's on a heater, though. I love that. Reed Shepard's somebody I picked to win. At my bold prediction last year was Reed Shepard 6th Man of the Year and Rookie of the Year, which he didn't get enough playing time to do it. But man, he's on one right now. He just hit like 2 threes, lay it in.
He dropped like 28 last night. I mean, yeah, he's coming on strong. And he's coming on strong at the best time of the season to come on strong. I don't know if he'll ever be their primary point guard, but I think that he's the kind of guy that can, like, the same way that Pritchard is impactful for Boston. I think Reed Shepherd can be like that too.
So yeah, I can't wait for Van Fleet to get back because I think that's going to be. I think Reed Shepherd, once you're able to play him off the ball and start running him off more off ball actions and get some more movement, because I think a guy like Van Fleet will just find him. I think that'll be great for Reed. Less ball in their hands, more just catch it and let it rip. Reed.
I 100% agree. He clearly has point guard abilities, but I actually think his strength is weird to say this, but I think Reed Shepherd's strength is as a shooter/scorer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, watching him, he doesn't even strike me as like a point guard per se. He's like, to me, it's like the playmaking of like a shoot first two guard where he'll make the extra pass, but his first read, he's looking at that basket. He's not looking to find anybody else but the bottom of the net.
Agreed.
Say, yeah, absolutely. Say, hey, everybody in the chat, Mo, you ready for some fun trivia?
Let's have some fun.
How many 20 or more point? How many 20-point games in his career did Ben Wallace have?
20-point games. Ooh. How long did Ben Wallace play? 12, 15 years?
15 years.
20-point games. You know what? In 15 years, it's probably low, but I'll say 5.
Oh, hey, fair. Anybody in the chat got a guess? Say
that might be too high. But...
Say, so we got one. Say Mo guesses 5. Say the fun question is, how many in his entire career 20-point games does Ben Wallace have? Question mark.
I know this much. He had more 20 rebound games than he had 20-point games.
Right? That's why I think it was so interesting. Like, he played for 15 years, so you'd think it's, a decent amount, but okay, T3 and D guesses 2.
He's probably closer than I am.
Mo, you're actually slightly closer. The answer is 4.
What?
In his entire career, he had 4 20-point games.
That's impressive. I just threw out a number. I really didn't know he had that many. Wow.
Yeah, no, it caught me off guard because I'm like, he played for 15 years. I'm guessing he at least maybe had like 10 or 12. Like, probably got to the double digits. I'm like, oh, he didn't even get a handful. Say just straight rebounding and defense. Nobody cares about scoring when it comes to Ben Wallace.
That's an interesting thing that you put out there, though, because now it has me curious about other players that have similar skill sets. Because now I'm wondering, how many 20-point games does Dennis Rodman have?
No, that's absolutely fair. Say, and of course, there's a lot of Manute Bol has 19 games of 10 blocks. That's interesting.
He does, but damn it, if he didn't get dunked on like 5 times a game, it's a weird thing, right? I think he's got one season, Brett, where he averaged like 6 or 7 blocks a game, but I don't think he made the All NBA defensive team. He's with good reason though. He wasn't a good defensive player.
I'd say he's one of those guys that he blocked a lot of shots, but then It's like you could still pretty easily attack him because he couldn't really move. Like if you just go around the screen, shoot him in, it's just wide open as long as it's a good screen. Like I said, I love Manute Bol's shot blocking ability, but he's weird in the sense where you look at his block shots and you're like, he must have been a really good defender. And then you watch him play, I'm like, I think Mo dunked on Manute Bol in a summer league game.
I could. Look, and I think he was one of those guys. Every era has guys that are characters. Him and George Mirasan, they were more like characters. yes, they were both huge men, but they were huge men. I wouldn't say they definitely weren't the most skilled basketball players. And remember, Manute Bo's 7'7", with long arms, but he's probably like that much thinner than Kevin Durant. Like he it's weird when a guy averages 6 blocks a game a season, but he gets posterized like 7 or 8 times a game. Like he just, like you said, he really couldn't move and he wasn't really a good defender.
Yeah, say, it's all right. We got modern day gimmick man coming up. Oliver Rhea, the young kid in Florida, 7'9". 7'9", and he's like the 4th string center.
Is that the guy? I think they showed him. Maybe it was another one. I think he is from Florida, where he dunked it without having to jump.
Yeah. He goes to school in Florida, and he's another guy kind of in the same mold where he's so tall he can protect the rim, of course, but he's buried in the depth chart because he can't really do much with them. He's almost too big for his own good that he just can't stay in space with these guards.
Well, it's a challenge for a lot of big men, but it's even more so if you're that 7'7", 275, 80-pound guy. This is not the era for you. If you're not that big and you don't have the agility, and I don't want to compare everybody to Wemby because Wemby is a one-off, but you would need to have some level of agility to go at that size to be able to play in today's NBA. Look, guys that were that big in the 90s, where the floor wasn't spaced as well, still struggled at times because they just didn't move that well. Now, in this era, if you can't move, because you're going to get put in pick and roll, right? They're going to test your feet. You're going to get exposed really quick in today's NBA.
No, absolutely. John's actually pretty right. He's Taco Fall, but with less of no skill. Yeah. You know what was weird to me, Mo?
Taco.
I am very curious on something. Why do we keep putting actual NBA players in these celebrity contests at the All-Star game? To me it was weird that's it's the celebrity game. Here's Taco Fall, and then they're like, oh, Taco Fall dominated. Well, you're 7'7" professional basketball player. I hope you dominated, Shams. I hope you did. Or it's oh, Jared McCain won the celebrity 3-point contest. Again, you're a professional NBA player. I hope you won the 3-point contest.
I feel
weird to me.
And I feel like Taco and his agent got together and they said, look, this is good exposure for you. You get out there and play and look good, and this will give you another look. I don't think him looking impressive against celebrities is going to have GMs drooling to bring him back in for a workout. I think that he's in a no-win situation no matter what he does in a celebrity game. He either dominates and they go, well, yeah, you're 7'7", you're a professional basketball player, or he gets dominated and then he gets killed. So I just don't think it benefited him at all. I do hope he gets another shot to play in the NBA because I can see where he doesn't look as stiff as he did before. He seems to be moving better, running better. So maybe there is a role for him in the NBA.
Wemby's younger brother is 6'9". At 17, that's just a whole family of just monsters.
Oh my God! At 17, that family is insanely. That's crazy.
If I'm in high school and they're like, "Yeah, go check him," and I look over and the dude's 6'9", I'm thinking a hamstring injury first play.
I hope if his brother's as skilled as Wemby, that's crazy.
Well, according to John, he does not have Wemby's talent.
Well,
that's all right. It's weird how that works, right? You'll get the MVP player, then their sibling comes in or something. And you're like, oh, they're going to be good. Look who they can learn from, and then they're just the worst thing ever.
Well, look at it on the flip side. Because Wemby is who he is, if nothing else, his brother will probably get a shot with the Spurs G League affiliate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Example, Giannis's family. It's funny how that works.
None of them are any good. None of them are any good.
it's funny how that works, right? Like it almost feels like if you're a role player and you have a kid that becomes a basketball player, fantastic basketball player. But if you're a superstar that has a kid that becomes a basketball player, they're going to be terrible. It's just funny how that seems to correlate more often than not.
I think there's facts in that. There's some facts in it. Although I will say this, um, before his injuries, Ron Harper was an all-star caliber player. I mean, he still went on to have a great career because he had to reinvent himself. I think Dylan Harper has a legitimate shot to being better than his pops.
Oh, absolutely. Say, just like Cam Boozer and Caden, one is very good, the other is average. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Cam Boozer could be better than Carlos Boozer, and Carlos was a very good player. Say, don't want to hate on Carlos Boozer, so say he was a very solid player. Say one's going to be better, one's probably going to be slightly worse than Carlos, and that's all right.
Yeah, look, I'm sure Booz would be rooting for both his sons to outplay him or have a better career than him. I could be wrong. I think Boozer was a 3 or 4 time All-Star, somewhere in that range. I know he had a run with Utah where you could maybe 3 or 4 years. He was a 20-10 guy. Like he was a really, really good offensive player. He had incredible footwork and finish with either hand, could face you up. Like people forget how good a tandem he and D Will were when they were both at their peak.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, Mo, before we got on, I messaged into the And One Discord. Does anybody have anything we want us to talk about tonight? And the response I got was a Bulls fan asking, "Can you please figure out how to trade Patrick Williams?" I'm like, I don't know if I don't have that much power. Attach a first, I guess.
You want to trade him? You're gonna send a first round pick with him, or you could stretch his contract out. You could stretch it out, and you could release him. You do that.
So he's my favorite example of why, people want to complain about, well, teams are bad because they're tanking. Like, no, there are some teams that are obviously tanking. Like the Indiana Pacers have no incentive to win. So I think they're probably just trying to lose games at this point so they can reload for Halliburton's return. But at the same time, like they're just in the finals, so I don't really care about that. But it feels like the bigger problem to tanking, Mo, is incompetent GM work. And I feel like the Chicago Bulls are a perfect example of that. Like, even like we can talk about, obviously the Patrick Williams contract, drafting him and then extending him early to a massive overpay. But even like this year at the deadline, Mo, like the Bulls very clearly didn't need any more guards. And what did they do? They got more guards. We got Jaden Ivey like having religious moments in the locker room because he can't get playing time. Like I just don't understand why people are complaining about tanking per se and not really looking at the bigger issue, in my opinion, which is you need to look at some of these front offices and management because they are just absolutely incompetent. Like, I promise you, the Kings aren't trying to lose games. The Kings are just completely incompetent that they have no choice. Like, they're going full bore at teams earlier in the year, and they're just getting blown up by 20. Like, are they really tanking? Or do they just suck? So
they're just that bad. I'm with you. If you want to tell me the Bulls are tanking or the Jazz are tanking, they are blatantly. But a team like the Kings, no, they're doing it honestly. If for what it's worth, like I don't think the Kings have a master plan. And all you have to do is look at the moves they've made over the last 3 seasons. There is no master plan there. They're a badly run team. They're a badly constructed team in terms of roster construction. They're losing honestly. It's not good. I hope I say this in a respectful way because the guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He will walk in. But it's not good when Russell Westbrook at age 37 and well on the other side of his prime is definitively your best player. That's not good.
And the funny part about this idea of, tank and tank, like with the way the draft lottery is constructed, like it's weird. Like, you have the highest chance, for example, obviously, if you lose the most games for the number one pick, but the worst team hasn't gotten the number one pick since the 2018 draft. So it's not like there's a massive history supporting, like, yeah, lose, get the worst record, and we get the number one pick. Like, that hasn't happened in, it'll be 8 years going into this draft lottery. So it feels like that this draft lottery is almost like doing its job in the sense that, hey, guess what? You want to tank, intentionally lose games? Well, now you still don't get, now you suck. You lost out on attendance. You probably have to fire half your coaching staff. And now you still don't get the best players. So if that doesn't dissuade you from tanking, like, I feel like at that point, nothing else will.
And that's fair. Look, you're right. I actually think the league and the draft lottery and all that is actually doing its job if you think about it, because think about back in the day what Oklahoma City was able to do. You know what I mean? Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka, like, you know what I mean? Like, they were doing that, and that was back in like 2012, like, and they were getting away with murder back then. I don't think tanking is more rabid than it was before. I think it's still there, but the Sixers got away with it forever a few years ago. Like, think about what they had. They obviously hitting on Simmons, hitting on Embiid, not good with Okafor, not good with obviously Markelle Fultz, but four high draft picks, 4 lottery picks. Now, the scary part is, what if they had done the right thing and hit on all 4 instead of trying to be super smart, which they weren't, and draft Markelle Fultz or get Okafor, Okafor came into the league like right when the league was shifting away from guys that could only play with their back to the basket. And even if it hadn't, he has such a low motor. He had one of those Benoit Benjamin motors. Like, it felt like the NBA game, it was too fast for his game. Like, he's so slow and methodical. He was like a less skilled Al Jefferson, and Al Jefferson was incredibly skilled on the block. But talk about a black hole when he got the ball. Like, if you pass the ball to Al Jefferson, he's just gonna hold it with one hand, dribble, then go into his shot. So yeah, I think tanking is bad, but I don't think it's the idea that it's gotten worse. I don't believe that. I actually think that it's gone backwards.
Every team in the lottery weighted by record, make it harder for bad record teams to get high picks to dissuade tanking. I'd say, like I said, I think at the end of the day, honestly, that's better than some of the ideas I've seen thrown out there. Like, guys saying, let's just get rid of the lottery. Like, I don't think, do I really need to explain why that's a bad idea?
Yeah.
Like, how do you expect, for example, a team like Sacramento, like, how are they going to get talent? The team isn't going to go look at New York and go like, sorry, guys, I'm going to Sacramento. I'm going to Charlotte. And even the idea that, like, Mark Cuban came up, like, I think it was Cuban that came up with the idea of, somebody came up with a draft free agency that, the worse record you have, the more money you get to spend in the draft free agency. But once again, players are going to, pick the bigger market still, because guess what? Maybe I lose out on $15 million, for example, by going to New York instead of Sacramento, but I can get that back and more in sponsorships with more opportunities. So it just feels like all these ideas that they're coming up with to fix tanking literally is just going to create even more problems. So I'm just hoping that they just almost leave well enough alone, like just kind of let it go.
I'm with you, partner. Look, Cuban, chat, you guys know this. Mark Cuban is a smart guy, one of the smartest owners there was in the NBA. But his idea is a dumb idea. If you go with his idea, the Lakers and the Knicks will have all the players. They'll have all the players, and maybe a couple of other big markets. The idea that, well, so-and-so that can pay them more. Sure, they can initially, but once the Lakers have their bird rights, you know how that goes. They're going to have a behind-the-scenes meeting and go, yeah, kid, you're not going to get that $20 million up front like so-and-so can offer you, but because of the endorsements and other things we can do for you, and not to mention we have your bird rights, you're not losing any money. That idea would literally destroy the small market teams like the Pelicans and the Kings, and other teams. It would kill them. That is the one idea I know Adam Silver will not adopt.
We know what LA is going to do. Hey, go plant some trees. We'll give you an extra $50 million.
You know what? I'm ready for that to be resolved. They said it was going to be resolved after the All-Star break. I haven't heard any news.
I've heard that they're going to punish. You know, it's weird. The only thing I've heard is they might punish the Clippers for it. And you know, it's funny, Mo. They're talking about, well, maybe they'll void Kawhi's contract and make him a free agent.
That's not punishing him, by the way. You know that, right?
I was going to say that's making him more money.
Right. You void Kawhi Leonard's contract with the Clippers, and suddenly he's basically on the buyout market, right?
Right. Yes.
And he, which means who's to say he couldn't go play for the Knicks or go play for the Pistons or go play for the Nuggets? My point is, you're going to make him more money. He's going to go somewhere as a mercenary, help a title contender, maybe put them over the top, and then turn around and sign a 2-year deal that's worth $100 million or so. I don't know who's guilty of what. What I do know is nobody in that situation, not Kawhi, not Steve Ballmer, neither one of them have clean hands in that situation. So if you're going to punish the Clippers and you want to punish Kawhi, you got to come up with something a little bit more creative than we're going to void his contract. You're going to set him up to where he's going to say, thanks, NBA. The situation is an ugly situation, but I think they got to find a way to punish both Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard. And maybe it's one of those, we found you guilty, so or whatever they're calling it. Maybe you start next season off missing the first 25 games of next season, or something to that effect. Whatever they do to him, I also think this is Kawhi Leonard's last year with the Clippers, regardless. But we'll see.
Yeah, I saw I saw an even better idea. Somebody's like, you know what the punishment should be? Clippers should be forced to trade for Paul George back. I'm like, you know what? That's a winner.
That's actually a really good punishment. Bring him back with his full contract from the Sixers, so they could take that major hit and be well into the second apron. I actually like that one. Yes, that would be punishment.
Don't worry, Tony. I see your start bench cut. I'm about to do one in a minute. We'll get there, but I do want to highlight this one real quick. How about Hornets and Khan? Fastest player to get, Mo, Rookie of the Year race. Is it Cooper Flagg or is it Khan Knuppel? We're getting into that stretch run.
So let's not get caught up in who's more talented and more gifted. That's Flagg. But Khan Knuppel, he is the engine behind the turnaround with the Hornets. And numbers-wise, he's having as good a season as Cooper Flagg. Now, I'm not going to even get into who's going to have a better career. Barring an injury, I think it'll be Cooper Flagg. But that doesn't mean Khan Knuppel can't have an all-star caliber career or better. I think he's done so well, especially with the turnaround with the Hornets. I think Khan Knuppel has a legitimate shot. I still think Cooper Flagg's the favorite. And if he's not going to play again, which I think he's not, that might give Khan Knuppel the chance to slip in there and win. Because if Cooper Flagg's not going to play, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, does this not go back to that 65-game rule thing? Like, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I hate to say it this way because I think Khan Knuppel is worthy of winning Rookie of the Year outright. But he's probably going to win it because, if you want to call it by default, because Cooper Flagg's not going to play enough games.
Say Cooper Flagg's at 49 games played on the year, so I think he can miss about off the top of my head, 5 or 6 more before getting knocked out of the Rookie of the Year race.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back though. I think they've shut him down, so I think he's gonna get knocked out.
Yeah, say, huh? Hey, say, Say a great season by Khan. I remember when he first got drafted, a lot of people were kind of skeptical on him. But
I'll be
what
honest.
I'll he's one guy where I immediately saw him like I like the fit. Theoretically, this looks great next to LaMelo Ball, and it's been terrific.
You did say that, and I remember this is before the draft. Going back, we had a conversation, and I said my concern was not with his work ethic or how hard he played. I didn't know if he had the ability to be the shot creation ability or to be able to get separation at the next level. He's shown me so much more than I knew he had in college or that you didn't see in college. Khan can put the ball on the floor. Khan is physically strong enough that when he puts his shoulder into you, you go the other way. Like Khan Knipple's a hooper.
Katie, you know what's funny? Katie and Amp go at each other on Instagram, and it might be. I feel like it might be partially like. I feel like it might be kind of real. Like I feel like they respect each other, but they're also like both ultra competitive. So I feel like their beef might be real to an extent. Like I feel like it's not like that serious, but at the same time, like man, they go at each other every time they see each other on the court. Like they do have beef. So look, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. Although, if that's the case, then KD got some catching up to do because Ant's taking him out the playoffs 2 years in a row when he was with Phoenix and was the best player in both those series. So I would love to see Kevin. There's a matchup I didn't even think of. I wouldn't have no problem with a Minnesota Houston first round matchup. Sign me up for that.
Oh, I had to go spend 5 seasons in Sacramento. There we go.
Oh, this is where Uncle Dennis would intervene and announce Kawhi's retirement.
It's immediately Kawhi
Immediate.
back to the Spurs.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Say, I mean, the Clippers have to sign Ben Simmons back into a fully guaranteed deal. There we go.
Ooh,
Full 25% max. Let's do it.
That is a punishment. Ooh, that's a good one. I like it.
Kana's also producing in more meaningful games.
No argument. But let's not act like Cooper Flag wasn't doing his thing, man. Like that dude was hooping. It's just unfortunate that he got injured. I think if Cooper Flag could have stayed upright, Dallas had an outside shot at the play in. I'm rooting for Con Knipple and the Hornets to make the play in and then eventually actually make the playoffs because I think it would be entertaining to see a young up and coming team in the postseason. We don't get a lot of new blood. I mean, in the postseason in the NBA, so it would be exciting.
No, absolutely. Say, I will have to look into it. It might not extend to Rookie of the Year. I thought it did, but I'll look into it. I'll get back to you on that one. We know the real Rookie of the Year is Hugo Gonzalez. Hey, shout out to Hugo, man. He's been great for Boston.
Yeah, he's done his thing. He's done his thing.
I was wrong about Sixers are the funniest team ever. Yeah.
No argument there.
I appreciate you, T3 and D. Who doesn't have KD have beef with? Apparently everybody.
Including teammates.
Yeah, we had the KD files, or as people are calling them, the KDF files drop on All-Star break. Like, that was such a wild time. Honestly, perfect time for that to happen. No hoops. Let's get some, KD drama going.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if those burner accounts were him or not. The only thing we know for sure is he had burner accounts in the past, obviously. So I get where it's low hanging fruit, where people go, "Oh, he's got more burner accounts and he's doing this or that." I'm not going to make much of it. I think the bigger concern is if you're in that Rockets locker room, how many of those guys think is real? Because that's where you should be most concerned. Because if it's real, or if you perceive it to be real, there are a lot of players in that locker room that are not happy with KD.
No, absolutely. We need Mo on the sports report on Monday night.
Sign me up.
I would rather watch the Hornets than the Heat. Hey, the Heat are a staple of the play-in at this point. We just need the Bulls to heat up, and we can get back to our, regularly scheduled Bulls, Heat, and Hornets. I mean, Bulls, Heat, Hawks Invitational.
You know what? I'm not putting this solely at his feet, but it happens to great players, great coaches, and it happens to great executives. I just think that time has passed Pat Riley by. I think that's what's happened, and I feel like he's still trying to hang in there, Brett. He feels like he's got that one more great off season. What he wants to do, Brett, and you know this, he wants to have a great off season to where the Heat are set up for like the next 7 or 8 years, and he can go off into the sunset. But as time keeps going, the problem is the roster they've put together, they're just good enough to keep you in NBA purgatory. They're not bad enough to get you a lottery pick where you might get a franchise player, and they're not good enough to go on another one of those miracle runs. Like I know Heat fans get caught up in it, right? I get it. Jimmy Butler takes you on 2 amazing, unprecedented runs. And for that, Heat fans they perceive that as the Heat or like the beast in the East. And you're confusing a run versus a team that's going to be a staple and a title contender for the next 7, 8 years. That's not what that ever was. It was just great runs. And some of it had to do with injury, upsets, you name it. But if your core is Bam, who's a really good player, and Tyler Hero, who's a really good player, and Norman Powell, who's a really good player, the problem is they're all really good players, but none of them are superstars and none of them are franchise players. You're in purgatory. That's the problem. If Pat Riley ever wanted to make a move to get out of purgatory, he would have to do something like trade all 3 of them to get one person, or trade all 3 of them to get somebody's number 1 pick. He would have to make a bold move like that to get them out of NBA purgatory.
So, can we see? I've been saying that since we signed him. Like I said, I'll tell you this again story. It's the minute we signed Glenn Rivers, I stood up from my house. I walked like 5 minutes that way to the local bar and started drinking margaritas to try to process the decision, because I felt like the only way to like get to the level of decision making Milwaukee had while making that choice is I had to be about like 5 margaritas deep. So, and after 5 margaritas, I walked back home, sat down, and I still couldn't figure out what they were thinking. So it was just a bad decision making from the start. And I agree. I think hopefully this is it for him after this year.
Brett, real quick, because you're a lot closer to this than most fans, because you're obviously a lifelong Bucks fan. Let me say this right, because the record said they were doing fine, but I guess internally and in the locker room, why didn't Adrian Griffin work out?
I was gonna say it's weird with Griff. Like I said, apparently there was a dispute with players. Apparently a lot of it had to do with, like, for example, Brook Lopez, I know wasn't really a big fan of his system. He overhauled the defensive scheme, played less drop coverage. So like a lot of them didn't like the defensive system, but no, in all reality, it was just all like locker room and chemistry issues, which was weird to me, because even the worst version of that team was still 30-13. They were rolling. So yeah, it's just straight up all locker room and chemistry stuff. So
it threw me, right? Because they were 30-13. Like if you're 30-13 and they're saying you're having problems, but you're 30-13, like, remember the old saying, winning makes everything better. And it's weird because the winning didn't make everything better, I guess, internally, and more importantly with the lot. And it's weird because I know initially Giannis was one of his biggest advocates, but then when he became the full-time coach or whatever, and they went through training camp and the whole nine, Giannis didn't seem like he was too big a fan of his system either.
So part of this is on the front office, and let me tell you why. Because he made it very clear that he wanted to play a more aggressive scheme. He wanted to be physical. He wanted to, engage ball handlers up, more full court and like get a lot more ball pressure, force more turnovers. And then they proceeded to get older and sign players that really just couldn't do that. Obviously, the defensive decline was a big one outside of just, chemistry issues, and they just didn't think he could lead the team to a title. But as much as the defensive issues are on him, I also think a part of that's on the front office, because he said before the season started, when he got hired, you knew what he wanted to do. Then you proceeded to go, you want to play like a more physical, switch everything style, defense? Yeah, okay, here's Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. Like, what's he going to do with that? Like, that doesn't fit what he wants to do at all. Like, it's you want, a more physical defense? Yeah. Here's Dame. And obviously I still, defend the Dame trade to this day. But at the same time, if you're getting a guy that wants to play a more physical and aggressive defense, is Dame the guy you should be targeting in that scenario? Like, as much of this that was on Griffin, I also think the front office should not get off scot-free for that decline, because clearly the style he wanted to play just wasn't going to mesh with the players we had. But they decided to stay old and get older, and obviously that didn't work. Terry Stotts. So I have an idea. Who wants to have some fun? I made this on the And One podcast, Facebook page. If you don't, follow, give us a follow on there. That'd be awesome. So the game is simple. It's a good old-fashioned start, bench, cut. I also added trade. So it's really simple. You have all four of these players on your roster. All of them are in their 6-man of the year form.
Mm-hmm.
It's really simple. Who you starting? Who you benching? Who you trading for more assets? And who you cutting?
Well, I don't know what the chat's gonna do, but I'll be consistent. I'd start Jason Terry. I think that's the easiest one because he's the best basketball player of the group. I would bench Peyton Pritchard because I think Peyton Pritchard has proven that he can be a key piece to a title. I would cut Lou Will because I never seen him really come up big in the playoffs. And I would trade Jay Crossover because I think Jay Crossover has value because he can put up buckets wherever he goes. That's what I would do. Look, and really, if you want to really be nitpick, really, Jamal Crawford doesn't have how can I say it? He didn't have a really big or successful playoff history of his own. Like, he's had a game here or there, but I'm talking about within the framework of a series. He didn't have a lot of series he played well in. Same for Lou Will. So I went with guys that I saw win when it mattered most. And I know Pritchard's obviously the youngest guy of the group, but Jason Terry people forget Jason Terry was a primary ball handler, and then he became a 6-man. But like, Jason Terry was big in the postseason, and he was incredibly big, obviously, when they went on the run in 2010-11. So yeah, I'm taking Terry because, like I said, that one is the easiest one because he is the best player of the group.
It's funny because I had the same answer. I'm starting Terry, I'm benching Peyton Pritchard, trading Jamal Crawford, and I'm cutting Lemon Pepper Lou.
Yeah, and I don't think he would mind because he could still head over to the strip club, so he'd be good.
Did you see that the Hawks are actually partnering with Magic City, the club that he went to?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're actually partnering him for a giveaway. I'm like, oh my, no fucking way. It surely is the most incredible thing that I have ever seen.
We're in different times. We're in different times.
No, absolutely. Pritchard has shown to help elevate that team with Jaylen Brown on the court.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah.
Jamal Crawford is worshipped because of his highlights. He never did anything important. He was a fun player to watch. Let's go with that. He was fun.
That's interesting. I don't even think that's completely wrong. But I will say that there's another player who's lived off of his highlight reel forever, much more than Jamal Crawford. And people love this guy. Brett, you know who I'm talking about because I can't stand him. It's Jason Williams, white chocolate. Why is he idolized? What has he ever done? Other than the highlight reel, which obviously shows your best moments, but if you've ever seen him actually play, what has he ever done? What has he ever done?
He made that elbow pass once.
Yeah, I saw somebody say that. What about the elbow pass? I'm like, what about it? So what? My thing about him is, you know what? Next Thursday, Brett, you're good at this. You can make up the graphic. Chat, I want you guys to all listen to this. We'll do this. Next Thursday, Brett, we're gonna do a round of Jason Williams and we're just gonna name. We're not gonna do crazy stuff. We're not gonna say Chris Paul or Isaiah Thomas, at least not Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons. But we'll say names that you recognize. Nick Van Exel. I don't know, go from the 80s, Mo Cheeks, or somebody like that. Matter of fact, you could say Jason Terry. I'm taking Jason Terry, by the way, but that's irrelevant. I'm not sure he's better than anybody in this group. Actually, he's not better than anybody in this group.
This right here is Jason Williams, like saving grace right here.
Yeah, he did that, but he did that when he was washed in a role player. I'm talking about when he made by the way, in his highlight reel, you don't see him once in his Heat jersey because that's when he was an old man and he was a role player. I'm talking about what made him famous, why they call him white chocolate. He ain't do nothing. Nothing.
And then why don't we do the other Stark bench cut that's Tony brought up in the chat, Mo? Stockton, CP3, Jason Kidd.
That's a tough one.
I know who I'm starting. CP3. You know what's tough, Mo? The stats say I should cut Jason Kidd.
It should.
Can I be honest? When it comes to like watching the film and play style, I really consider keeping Jason Kidd. I loved his physicality. I loved him on the defensive end. Like I just love the versatility he gives you on the offensive end outside of the great finisher and passer that he was in his prime.
Yeah, look, you don't have to sell me. I think Jason Kidd was one of the best. He's one of the greatest perimeter defenders in NBA history. Like, could not just guard point. He could guard every perimeter player and some small forwards because of his physical strength. So yeah, this is blasphemy. But of these three players in this start bench cut, I think I'm with you. I'm taking CP3 to start, and I'm benching Jason Kidd, and I'm cutting the immortal, the Hall of Famer, the all-time assist and steals leader, John Stockton. I know, and if somebody wants to kill me, that's fine. Let's just put it this way: John Stockton, this particular graphic, he just lost. He's lost.
Say cut CP3. That's interesting.
See, the thing about Stockton is, and I have tons of respect for him. He certainly was the floor general for that Jazz team that was a powerhouse for the better part of a decade. But he wasn't the best player. The clear best player was Karl Malone. What Chris Paul was the best player on those Clippers teams. He was also the best player when he was younger on the Hornets teams. Like, he was that good. And it's not an accident that Chris Paul goes to Phoenix. And where do they end up, Brett? They ended up in the finals, right? That's not an accident. I love Book, but if Chris Paul never goes there, Book never sees the finals. That's how great a player Chris Paul is.
Yeah, I think Chris Paul is arguably maybe like, how to say this, the greatest floor raiser and ceiling, like maybe one of the greatest ceiling raisers to never win a title.
I agree.
Like the fact that I think maybe the best work of his career isn't even the finals run. It's taking a team then OKC that they're like, yeah, this team's tanking. They might win 30 games. And next thing you know, they're in a 7-game dogfight with the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. Like,
yes. What? prior to the season starting, everybody had OKC in the lottery. And all Chris Paul did was elevate everybody in the starting lineup and in the bench. He made them all better. I know they didn't win anything, but for him to carry that team to the playoffs, it's one of his greatest accomplishments.
Absolutely. Chris Paul and J Kid made a lot of
Yeah.
big man. Yeah.
Agreed.
Jeff Hornacek might have been the reason Stockton slid out in your choice, but then no, like I said, I understand like peak Stockton. He was great. I just think there's just more. Even though he put up less counting stats, the game film tells me that I get more versatility and I still get some awesome scoring. Like I lose outside shooting when it comes to prime Kid versus prime Stockton, but like I get more defense. I think, in my opinion, Kid's a better passer than Stockton. He's a better defender and finisher at the rim. Like it's a good one. It's a good one to me.
Look, if you choose who you choose, I would say this to anybody in the chat or anybody that's watching us right now. Brett and I would take CP3 to start, and we would bench J Kid. But if you told me you're taking John Stockton, I'm not going to call you crazy. We would just disagree, but I'm not going to call you crazy because Stockton was an all-NBA defender, and he did the little things that a lot of point guards that do. John Stockton was one of the best pick setters in the NBA history. And I know that's like you don't think about it, but he did that kind of dirty work. He did that. So, look, if you pick John Stockton or you pick J Kid, by the way, I have nothing but profound respect for J Kid, especially prime J Kid. What he did, that Nets team had no business being in the finals, and he took them to 2 finals.
Yeah, like you could tell he almost took him to 3 if it wasn't for a ridiculous chase down by Tayshaun Prince.
Facts.
Like they almost went to 3 in a row.
That's facts.
They almost were like the Buffalo Bills of the 2000s, just going to finals after finals after finals. But yeah, like you could say, "Hey, I'm starting Stockton." I'd be like, "Yeah, I get it." So, like I said, no matter what your answer is, I don't disagree with you. I think at that point, when you get to a certain caliber of players, it's more, what's your preference? What do you like in a player?
Yeah. We're talking. I mean, we are talking about Hall of Fame players. These guys are all Hall of Fame players.
Yeah,
that says a lot about John Stockton because look, I think Mark Eaton won DPOY. I want to say 3 or 4 times, but the fact that he got to an All-Star game, John Stockton did do that. Give him a lot of credit for that.
No, absolutely. By the way, I forgot was still in the league until he did my favorite thing ever, Mo. We had a Jeff Green poster a couple days ago.
Uncle Jeff.
And Mo, by the way, it's the same poster he does every time. If you've seen one Jeff Green poster, you've seen them all. It's the same, like, one-handed hammer every single time. It's the funniest thing ever.
Jeff Green, you know what? On a really on the low kind of thing, Jeff Green's got a really good, I guess you would call it, resume of dunking on people. Like, you don't think of him as one of those guys, but Uncle Jeff has caught a few bodies.
No, absolutely. Of course, Mo, I got to throw out this PSA, by the way. It is okay because I'm going to be bringing back puppy prospects soon. I was thinking next week, to coordinate with the start of March Madness, bring back puppy prospects, start analyzing some prospects. But I will let you know right now, when I analyze prospects, I do compare some guys to role players because not everybody can be a superstar. Can we please stop saying every single player is going to be some version of a superstar? I saw somebody saying Keaton Wagler out of Illinois, currently comp to Halliburton's playmaking and SGA scoring. And I looked at that like, so he's the number 1 pick. Like, if you have a prospect that can, distribute like Hallie but score like SGA at 6'6", like, yeah, that's just the number 1 pick in the draft. So, I don't know, Mo. I feel like that some people with their, predictions and analysis, like, we just got to chill on some guys. Like, not everybody can be a superstar, and that's okay.
No, look, some guys come out and they're drafted in the lottery. They have good long careers, but they don't pan out as superstars. They just pan as really good players. Matter of fact, I think we was just talking about Uncle Jeff. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jeff Green was a lottery pick, and he had a good career. He wasn't a star or a superstar, but he had a really good, productive career, and he won a lot. He won a lot everywhere he went. So, and he's got an NBA title on his resume because he was a big contributor on that team. So, yeah, a lot of guys that come out don't end up being a star. Andrew Wiggins, when he first came out, they were saying he was going to be the next high flyer because he had, and Wiggs does have, well, I don't know if he has them still, but he did have incredible hops. But part of being a superstar, becoming one, you also have to have the mentality of one. Wiggs was always a really good player, but he didn't really have the dog in him to be a number one or be an alpha. I still would argue he's had a really good career. He's had a respectable career. But like you said, Brett, he his lot in life was not to be a superstar or a star. But he had a great stint with the Warriors. I thought that stint with the Warriors elevated his career, his profile.
Right. Even when I analyze my own Bucks players and I'll give you an example, Marjon Beauchamp. When I looked at him, I watched his game and I saw the body type. I'm like, I think if he lives up to his full potential, he could be like a Trevor Ariza, which I thought was a fair comp. Like if he bought into playing off the ball and committed to playing defense, which in his own head I think he thought he's just a superstar in the making. So there was just a disconnect. But it was funny. I go to the Bucks page and ironically somebody asked, "Yo, what's the Marjon Beauchamp player comp?" I saw someone say T-Mac. I'm like, who? Atlanta Hawks T-Mac? What?
Right.
T-Mac who? Because they ain't talking about McGrady. So, yeah, like I said, I want to give a fair warning that when I do my prospects, when I analyze them and look at them, you're not always going to get the superstar comp, but that doesn't mean I think they're going to be a bad player per se.
Right. I like that. Look, a lot of guys just end up being really good players. You were talking about Carlos Boozer. We were talking about him earlier because of his sons and what they may or may not be. People forget Carlos Boozer wasn't a lottery pick. He was the 35th pick of his draft class, and he turned out to have the kind of career that he had. So, yeah, there you go. I said a lottery pick. Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Oh, and guess what? You know what caught me off guard? Say Taj Gibson's back in the league, signed with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Really?
I love guys like Taj, guys like Taj, and for late career Vince Carter, they just want to go out and hoop, man. I can't do anything but respect that. There's no reason for him to get off the couch to come play for Memphis, but he's like, yeah, you know what, ball up top, let's do it.
I don't think it can hurt because of the kind of leader he is and professional he is. They have a lot of young guys on that roster that are still there. Maybe he rubs off on them in a positive way, so it's a good move for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, Taj Gibson, he's back in the league. My favorite Tom Thibodeau merchant. I thought he's so funny. Every time there was a roster spot to be filled for Tibbs, that was always my favorite thing. You saw that empty roster spot, and you almost feel like, well, put the sign on it, reserved for Taj. First big man injury that Tibbs, he had him on speed dial, yo, Taj, it's your time. I think I saw him pop up felt 5 different times when Tibbs was in New York. And of course, Mo, my favorite thing. Do you see that Draymond actually went at Kendrick Perkins, and it's normally I think Dre's just he's interesting. He says a lot of good things, but he has his fair share of dumb things like us all. But Draymond Green goes off on Kendrick Perkins. We've seen you play, big fella. We got the clips of you setting screens. We've got clips of your jump shots. Careful, man. We can start pulling clips now. So, obviously, Dre had a bad game a couple games ago. Perk went after him, and that was Dre's response. I'm like, thank you. Somebody finally said it.
Yeah, Perk. It's weird that he's so hard on so many players when you actually look at what he did. And he was a good role player, but he was a role player.
Yeah, no, he's a good role player. Absolutely. And before we get out of here, there's one more take I wanted to talk about, Mo, from Chris Canty, and I think this is just interesting, and I also think it's just wrong. Jalen Brown's career is officially better than Jason Tatum's if he wins an MVP this season.
No, that's not true. I'm just saying it's not true. It will be nice and it'd be big for Jalen Brown, but here's the thing: Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP, and I've defended Steve Nash. You know I have. But with that said, when we start ranking all-time great point guards, we're not ranking Steve Nash ahead of Chris Paul, and Chris Paul ain't got no MVP because we know that Chris Paul is better than Steve Nash. It's just facts. We know that Isaiah Thomas is better than Steve Nash. It's just facts. So the MVP, it'd be great for Jalen Brown. And I know a lot of people are suddenly advocating for him. And I'm not going against him. I will say this though. I don't know how Jalen Brown would beat out Cade Cunningham. I don't see how that happens. Like Cade is doing what he's doing, and it's not like the Pistons are an all-star caliber. Like they're not a stacked squad. They're not. He didn't have a lot. It's not a lot going on there in the means of talent. They have a lot of young bodies, but they don't have a lot of talent. So I think what Cade's doing is very impressive, and I think Jalen having a career year, he should get his flowers for that. But he's not having a better year than Cade Cunningham, in my opinion.
You say you won't advocate against it, but I will. There's no way Jalen Brown. I think Jalen Brown deserves MVP votes, but he shouldn't be seriously in the MVP talks, if that makes sense. Like, you can't give me a good case for him over SGA, even if, let's say, or Jokic, but let's say if Jokic misses a game, okay. Give me the case for Jalen Brown over Cade Cunningham. There isn't one. Say, if Wemby plays enough games, is there really a case for Jalen Brown over Wemby? Like, to me, I think Jalen Brown deserves all the flowers, and I think he deserves a couple of, MVP votes for sure. But I just don't think there's a good argument to go, yeah, JB MVP this year. Like I said, respect, shout out to JB for the fantastic year. I don't think there's a good Jalen Brown MVP argument to be had for him.
There's not. And even if you did and we talked about this earlier, Joker didn't play enough games, SGA didn't play enough games, Cade's going to play enough games, and there's no reason to pick him over Cade Cunningham, who only has the best record in the Eastern Conference, and he's the best player on the team with the best record in the Eastern Conference. It's pretty much that simple for me. Although I would hope, I mean, this year, I would hope that next year Adam Silver comes to his senses. We're going to do away with the 65 game rule. If you want to have a cutoff point, have a cutoff point. Say 50 games. 50 games is more than half the season. 50 games is more than half the season. Say 50. But I think 65 is a lot. It's asking a lot. I don't want someone like Joker or Giannis in the future to have an amazing year but not be considered for the MVP because they only played 58 games. I think that's wrong.
And then, like I said, the arbitrary limit is so funny because if you look at the past history of MVP and even all NBA winners, for example, they didn't vote those guys in anyway if they missed a ton of games. You didn't have a ton of guys playing 50 games on the all NBA first team.
Right.
Or winning MVP. So it just felt like it was an overreaction to load management. Yeah, they're missing a lot of games, but guess what? They're also just missing on the big accolade, legacy defining accolades. Yeah, you can miss 30 games, but the voters did, all this time didn't look at that.
Right. But I guess the reason why I don't like it too is because I think that players like Giannis, like Joker, even a Luka or Cade or Ant, well, defining moments are winning MVPs or making all NBAs and all those kind of things. And if these guys have great seasons, but the one plays 59 games or the other plays 60 games, you don't think they're still worthy of that? You know what I'm saying? Of course he's worthy of all NBA. What I don't want to happen and I think it's starting to happen, or in this season is like the perfect storm of it, is guys who are really good players but didn't really have an all NBA season are going to be on the all NBA team. And they're going to be on the all NBA team because the truly great players didn't play enough games. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that.
I agree, Reed. I don't think the voters wouldn't do it, but guess what? They wouldn't put him on anyway, if you catch my drift. Like, we don't, that's kind of my point. Like, I think we almost think the voters are too dumb that we thought we had to establish an arbitrary game limit. They didn't vote guys in MVP or anything for missing games. Just like in the NFL, if Josh Allen plays 8 games, he's never going to get serious MVP consideration. If he plays 10 games, he's not going to get serious MVP consideration. Just like someone like, Kawhi. When Kawhi Leonard plays, he plays at an all NBA level. And Kawhi Leonard, when he's healthy and plays at an MVP level, like in a lot of his games. Problem is, you don't play enough games. They never seriously considered him for it. So, like, I just think that the voters and the guys picking these awards aren't as almost dumb as people make them out to be. Like, I don't think we need to hand them an arbitrary game limit. Like, here you go. Like, I thought for the most part they did a good job of sorting through that anyway and getting it for the most part right. There'll always be a year or two where they miss, but
agreed.
Is say, well, Embiid added his name to the MVP to never win a. Yeah, I just don't see I don't see where they get to a championship or conference finals level. The only way I think at this point is if he makes it is that they would have to find a way to like nuke the team and start fresh, or at that point just trade Embiid, or he gets that, Tracy McGrady finals run on the Spurs where it's like, well, he's there, he's on the roster, but, he can't really play anymore, but he technically made a final, so.
I think he can win a finals, but I don't, to your point, Brett, if and when he does win a finals, he won't be the best player. He might not even be the second or third best player. If the basketball gods are kind to him, I think that he could go somewhere and maybe be the third best player and help a team win a title, but in a lesser role. Because even now, when he's played well, but he's kind of like in that Kawhi thing where because his injuries are chronic injuries, you try to keep him as healthy as you can, but there's going to be a period of time throughout the season that he's going to miss significant time. And that's the frustrating part if you're a Sixer fan. What you do know is I don't care what they do with the 65 game rule. Joel Embiid is never going to play 65 games again in this NBA.
Say Embiid wins finals with the Magic in 2028. Oh, you know what's funny?
Not if Paolo and Franz are there, he won't.
That might be like the funniest fit because there would be zero ball movement. Like Joel Embiid isn't a passer, Paulo is a passer sometimes, Franz is a passer sometimes. That would be the funniest fit because it would just be like Desmond Bain and Jalen Suggs standing on the perimeter watching the other guys ISO. It's like great talents, but the fit would like scare the crap out of me if I was an Orlando Magic fan.
And what would they do to get him? Because if I'm Orlando, I know you want to make a move. I don't think Embiid would be the move because what would the Sixers even ask for in return for him?
I don't think Joel Embiid will ever truly get traded unless he requests it. Because some guys get to a certain point where their value to the franchise might eclipse the value that they have to other franchises and on the open market.
I agree.
And with Joel Embiid's history and all he's done for the city of Philadelphia, I think that he's a guy that they're almost gonna look at him like, he's that number one MVP. Like he's that MVP lottery pick that they drafted. So I feel like the price will always be too high to get him out unless he specifically asks for it.
No, I can see that. Like you said, but the idea that the Sixers are going to win a title, not anytime soon.
I'll say they need another perimeter creator next to Maxey.
And they need a couple of bigs with some live bodies, some live legs, some young legs. Embiid has become like a specialty player now because he doesn't play. He used to be, obviously before he just started breaking down. Embiid was an All NBA defender.
Say Edgecombe is starting to like kind of give me the vibes of you shouldn't have him be a primary ball handler, or even like a secondary ball handler. But man, I think he could be such a weapon off the ball, cutting, knocking down threes. Like he's starting to strike me as all right. Don't put the ball in his hands that much because his handles aren't that tight. But this kid could go nuclear if you just use him right off the ball.
It's funny because watching Edgecombe, in a lot of ways, and I mean this, in a lot of ways, he reminds me of a young Jaylen Brown. He didn't lack for confidence, but Jaylen Brown his handle didn't match up with his mentality. Jaylen Brown wanted to go after everybody, but he didn't really have a handle. He got in the lab, and now you look at him. Jaylen Brown has become one of the better shot creators in basketball, but that wasn't always the case. Edgecombe, we forget he is a rookie, so he can improve upon it, but he's definitely got to tighten up that handle more.
Yeah, I'm not fully counting it out. I remember when I was watching him, I'm like, if he tightens up his handle, this kid could be like player comp, I believe, was Pacers Victor Oladipo. Like, wow. Very good player pre-injuries.
Yeah, I think that's high praise. Oladipo, before the injuries caught up with him, like he was like right there, getting ready to like lunge into superstar status, and the injuries just derailed all that. But I don't forget how good he was on both ends of the floor prior to the injuries.
No, absolutely. That being said, Mo, that's all we had for you today. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, always grateful for the chat, going back and forth. I love everybody dropping their comments. Appreciate all the knowledge, guys. Appreciate just going back and forth and join the conversation. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. And obviously, if you want to continue the conversation, we do have the And One Podcast Discord. There's a link to join in our Facebook. Otherwise, if there's anything you ever want us to discuss, there's an And One Podcast Facebook page. You can, reach out to us there and let us know what you want us to talk about. So that being said, we thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.